Pancake and Powerslam. Turn it up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Powerslam. Turn it up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Powerslam Show. Turn it up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Powerslam. Turn it up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Powerslam. Turn it up, turn it up. It's the Pancake and Powerslam Show. Turn it up.
What is up, everybody? What is up? What is up? What is up? It is WrestleMania weekend. Well, week. WrestleMania week. Yeah, man. Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah. Yeah. Episode 679, y'all. Yeah. It's your time. Share the link, y'all. Let's rock. Let's vibe. Let's have a good time as we do every single week. This is the heels of the go home show to WrestleMania 41. We're going to talk about the main event of night one, which is Roman Reigns versus CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. Retribution, revenge, and the psychology behind that. Retribution and revenge. Yeah. Share the link, y'all. Hey, share the link, y'all. We vibing. Yeah. We vibing. Yeah. All right, y'all. Having a good time on the show as we do as always. Be sure to share that link. I see people sharing the link. We have a good time as always. Of course, Ask Doc is the way to go. Ask Doc. Hashtag Ask Doc is the way to go. And I'll catch the questions at the end of the class. And of course, right now, we're going to talk about Retribution. Share the link for everyone. And be sure to hit that like button on YouTube as we continue to grow in viewer subscribers. I don't even know how many subscribers we have right now. How many subscribers? How much left? How much do we have left before 1,000? That's where we're heading to right now. We have 64 left. We have 64 subscribers left, y'all. 64 left. Y'all do it? That's y'all's challenge. You're able to do it? Are y'all able to do it? We got 64 left, y'all. 64 left before we get to 1,000 subscribers. Can you do it? Can you do it? Are you able to do it successfully? And are you able to my hand to your hand, y'all. My hand to your hand, the Gavin, if you will. 64 subscribers left. Share the link. Let people know about the Pancakes and Powerslams Show. We're literally 64 subscribers left before we reach 1,000 on YouTube. Man, 13 years on the show, helping other sites out, boosting their YouTube numbers and boosting their Facebook numbers. I said, you know what? I'm going to go to business for myself. I have enough. I have enough trust. I have enough faith in myself, a confidence in myself, stock in myself, the ability to know that I can do this and branch out on my own. And I did that. And now I want to reach 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube. This is the 13th year of the Pancakes and Powerslams Show, y'all. And for all the things that I do for y'all and classes and all that jazz, it would be a wonderful, wonderful appreciation for you to subscribe on YouTube. And thank you all, YouTube. Thank you for the YouTube community, first of all. Y'all get a shout out for that. I've noticed that a lot of my YouTube community are a lot of the ones who are rocking with me live. Yes, I have people on Twitter. But at the same time, man, my YouTube community is coming up, and that's what I really want, man. I really want a lot of this to go on YouTube. I really want my YouTube community to rock and roll with me, to have a good time with me, man, because that's where we be vibing out on YouTube, man. My YouTube community is awesome. My YouTube family is amazing. Twitter's hit and miss, man. You've got some followers, you got some supporters, but you know, you've got the IWC over at Twitter, man, that is just an absolute cesspool of mess. And we've actually had classes on that. I've actually had, focus groups on that and discussed the psychology of that. And I appreciate my people. I appreciate my followers on Twitter. Y'all are I appreciate you very, very much. But yeah, man, subscribe, repost, do all that jazz. Let's have some fun. This is WrestleMania week, and we're going to talk about psychology of retribution. All right, class is in session, ladies and gentlemen. I got some good questions already, man. So it's going to be great. All right, so of course, like I said, this stemmed from the main event for night one of WrestleMania. We've got a triple threat match that we saw. It's interesting how it came to be. It really interesting how it came to be, and we'll talk about that. I'm sure that we're going to talk about that in the Q&A session, as far as like my thoughts and how y'all thinking about like how this all came about and the triple threat match for the main event and so forth. But as far as Retribution, it's like each one of them separately has revenge on their mind when it comes to individual feuds that you just kind of mishmashed into one. So we'll get to that. But at the same time, what we do know is that there is a lot of seeking revenge and retribution when it comes to the three of them, as far as main eventing night one. So retribution, what is retribution? Retribution is typically viewed as an emotion born of anger, outrage, and blame, and is grounded in a desire for revenge, which manifests into in moral condemnation. All right. So retribution also shares characteristic with negative emotions that are typically associated with irrational and counterproductive thought and behavior. But here's the interesting thing to the retributionist. The retributionist, they oftentimes justify their behavior, which is called confirmation bias. They have cognitive dissonance. They do have a war or conflict in thoughts. And what happens is a lot of times people, they get into a stand, or they get into a notion in their mind that I've been wronged, so therefore I'm going to be Machiavellian oftentimes in my approach. And I don't think I've really dived deep into Machiavellianism. That's a class for the future. It's a really interesting concept when it comes to the dark triad of psychology, by pursuing things by any means necessary, so to speak. The means justify the ends when it comes to Machiavellianism. So oftentimes that translates into a retributionist mentality, because, okay, well, yes, you have a potential conflict that could go against the reason why you're deciding to commit this act toward people who you perceive being wrongdoing. But the cognitive dissonance, pushes that new information out oftentimes, and confirmation bias does nothing but overshadows and even, oftentimes goes in concert with cognitive dissonance, and which causes someone to pursue the actions that they may have had some conflict, but confirmation bias and cognitive dissonance, it causes them to pursue those actions. So we've seen this in different elements when it comes to this triple threat feud. Seth Rollins doing something, Roman Reigns doing something, CM Punk doing something. It's been a lot of retribution when it comes to this, and all of them has justification in their minds of why they feel so much and so ill toward the other person. It's kind of like a conglomerate or kind of, like I said, a hodgepodge, a mishmash, so to speak, of separate feuds all into one. But when it comes to retribution, though, this wrongdoing and this confirmation bias, because a person feel like they've been wronged, this perception of injustice, it triggers a combination of both anger and resentment, and factors such as self-righteousness and retribution are exhibited when one believes that his anger is justified. Now, I said, studies show that the self-righteousness part that's an interesting part too. That's an important part about all this too, the self-righteousness part. So this person, like, oftentimes when there's a retribution, so to speak, toward someone, or revenge toward someone, it's often based on the fact that the person who they are delivering that revenge to is lesser than, and they're putting themselves, the person who's committing the violent act, the vengeful act, or the act of retribution, they're putting themselves as like this self-righteous figure. They're putting themselves as, that person who I'm conducting or I'm exhibiting this type of vengeful behavior, this person's the villain. This person is the bad guy, when in fact, you're doing or have done just as much or even worse than the person you're being vengeful for. But you have this self-righteous mentality that you justify your actions toward the person that you're committing the vengeful acts to. However, you, on the other hand, it's justified of why you do what you do. And oftentimes we see this in the pro wrestling culture that, wait a minute, you just talked about this person doing X, Y, and Z, but you just did that a few weeks ago. But you are getting mad at this person for doing it, where, okay, that's a bit hypocritical because you can't have this self-righteous type of mentality because you just did the same thing. And so that's oftentimes a backdrop of why people, of how people are thinking when they commit retribution and vengeful acts. The element of negativity bias also comes into play regarding the concept of retribution. And so negativity bias, it's a really interesting concept. I've mentioned this before in different shows. So the negativity bias is basically the perception of, it's the perception of giving more weight, or is the element or the act of giving more weight to negative thoughts instead of positive thoughts. And studies show that even from infants, even from infant age, there's studies that show reactions to negative stimuli, even from a imaging perspective, even from a study perspective of reacting more toward negative stimuli. And we put more weight on it. I mean, there could be, we're at a restaurant, for instance, and for the past 6 years, it's been nothing but good service. And then that one time where the service is bad, that has just as much weight as 6 years, because you start to talk about that more, and you start to put more attention, and you start to put more time toward the negative stimuli versus all of the positives that's happened within, all that time. And a lot of time it is so unfair, but it's just unfortunately how we process things. When we process that type of buffer in our mind, we don't want it to hit us, in a way that's unexpected, or hit us in a way that we can't really process it in enough time. So we just think negatively. It's a very disadvantaged way of thinking. And as a therapist, it definitely doesn't make my job easier, because negativity bias is very prevalent in the therapeutic circle. And even outside the clinical or the therapeutic circle, it happens all the time, even in relationships, in intimate relationships. A person can be doing so much good stuff for so long and have a just be a solid person. Just be a solid person. And that person could, raise their voice, and they had a moment of weakness, and not malicious, but was a little snappy or a little edgy, or was late picking you up, or didn't do what you asked them to do. And oftentimes that has just as much weight or even more than just the complete solid person that person typically is, and that person is known to be. And so I got to give a shout out for 3 figures already at 100 at 20 minutes in. So thank you so much. Again, man, every time we rock and roll, if I remember, because unfortunately I've not done really good job at that over the past few weeks. So I'll give you props for now. We're at 100. So, but yeah, so, and that happens all the time when it comes to relationships, negativity bias. It's something that happens quite a bit. I do this a lot of times with my clients. I usually say, like, I do couples therapy a lot. And oftentimes I do a ratio scale with my clients. And I ask someone, like, okay, how many, like, give me a percentage of how many times your spouse is actually like really solid, like day to day, just how they act, how they treat you, what they do for you, how they serve you in so many ways. What's the percentage of that, of them just being an overall solid dude or solid gal? Give me the percentage of that, right? So oftentimes I'll get 70%, I'll get 80%, I'll get 90%. And what happens is oftentimes, and this is really important with negativity bias too, oftentimes and there's a pattern I've seen in the years that I've been doing this, especially in couples therapy. I see, and I tell the couple this after I do this exercise. What happens a lot is, say if someone says this person is really, really solid 80% of the time. So 8 out of 10 days, this person is like super solid, just emotionally stable, just spiritually stable, just intellectually, just very inspiring, really got their head on their shoulders, really goal-oriented, just a very inspirational person from a spiritual perspective, physical perspective, intellectual perspective, especially emotional perspective. So guess what happens? 8 out of 10 days, this person is solid all the way around. But guess what? You go into spaces, you talk to your friends, you go to therapy, and guess what you address? You address the 2 days out of 10 that this person is not solid. That is negativity bias in a nutshell, because you're talking about the 20%. And I tell this, I say what happens is it becomes like a intersection instead of a parallel. If this person is 80% solid and needs 20% improvement, what happens oftentimes is, instead of matching it, instead of like, I'm going to talk to you and compliment you and give you and shower you with attaboys or attagirls 80% of the time, and let everybody know, and let you know especially how amazing you are 80% of the time, and nitpick or critique you 20% of the time, that typically doesn't happen. What happens usually? 80% solid, but I'm going to critique you 80% of the time. So I'm only going to critique you, or I'm only going to praise you 20% of the time. You need 20% improvement. You're 80% solid, but instead I praise you 20% of the time, and you need 20% improvement, and I criticize you 80% of the time. And that happens. That is one of the most repetitive themes when it comes to couples therapy. And I hear it all the time. I see it all the time, even outside of the clinical space. It happens a lot of times too, just within interpersonal communications. Negativity bias is so prevalent. So guess what happens though? This is very prominent when it comes to retribution, because that person, like I said in that illustration, that person is thinking 80% of critique for only 20% of improvement. So that justifies them of the 80%. You're already in that mindset. So you start to justify reasons why you're thinking or perceiving or talking to this person in a very negative way. Although this person has been really solid this entire time, most of the time, they don't get that equal level of energy when it comes to praise. They get that 80% of energy on the 20% that needs to be improved. So that mindset, when it comes to like retribution mentality, it's like this person could have been so good and so solid and not done anything wrong to you for a long time. But guess what happens? You start to operate in unforgiveness. and that started to resonate. And we'll start to, and I'm going to talk about research when it comes to what type of characteristics or traits comes in with retribution or revenge type of mentality. Where does that come from? So there's actually an interesting study when it comes to negativity bias. There was a study by a person named by the name of Dr. John Cacioppo. He had three elements. He was grabbed some. It was some students. He grabbed some participants, and he had three types of stimuli. He had positive stimuli, what people would view as positive stimuli. That was that typically were known to invoke positive feelings. So he showed like Ferraris and pizzas and all different types of really kind of positive stimuli. He also showed neutral stimuli like a hair dryer, I believe. The other one was it was a plate. That was the other one, a plate. And and another one was another type of group was negative stimuli. And it was a mutilated face and a dead cat, unfortunately. And studies show they did an electromagnetic imaging on brain stimuli response, and it showed that the people reacted stronger to the negative stimuli. So that's the scientific. There's many studies, but that's one prominent and known scientific study when it comes to the negativity bias and how people just veer off to put more weight, even if all three of them are shown to you, even simultaneously. People statistically and scientifically, they put more weight onto negativity. And we see this all the time in pro wrestling. This person could we're saying this with the Braun Breaker and Penta and stuff. Like Penta helped Braun Breaker, and they're both getting jumped by the Judgment Day. I mean, we literally just saw that. Like Penta helped Braun Breaker with Judgment Day, and then Braun Breaker spear Penta. Like, and we saw that, and it's like Penta did nothing to Braun Breaker. Judgment Day was the one who jumped Braun Breaker. He took them out. He goes to the corner. He somehow that gets cheered because the baby face is right there in the corner. He's about to spear him. Negativity bias. Because the beef that night was Retribution. I mean, or it was Judgment Day. Definitely not Retribution. The beef that night was Judgment Day, but he still found something to be, negative toward Penta and seeking retribution from him. And so we saw that even in the Intercontinental title scene, and we're seeing that in the main event as well. So here's some deciding factors when it comes to seeking revenge. Interestingly, studies show that a major deciding factor in seeking revenge is narcissism, interestingly enough, because there's links to inflated self-conscious and a sense of entitlement when it comes to seeking revenge, the quest of seeking revenge. And again, it goes back to that, I mentioned the self-righteous mentality. You have that entitlement. You believe that retribution or revenge is owed to you, because you have that inflated sense of self. You have that that inflated self-conscious. You have that self-righteous mentality. All narcissistic tendencies. So you believe that it's owed to you that revenge should happen. I mean, we see this all the time, man. Even not from a standpoint of like, if someone ills you, there's all different types of retribution, even from a racial standpoint. Even there's race retribution. Unfortunately, there's been studies that show that because, and we talked about the psychology of racism too, but there's been studies that show that people from the in-group, out-group in-group, out-group mentality because this person has a different phenotype. Therefore, this person is not like us. This person is inferior to us. And so we are owed retribution to regain or to purify our society. I mean, we've seen that type of language discussed when it comes to racial prejudices and racism. And so that even that from a retribution standpoint, narcissism at its finest. You're owed something. This is what they deserve. That's retribution, unfortunately, from a narcissistic standpoint. And so neuroticism also is also a characteristic. And neuroticism is a part of the big 5 personality traits. You have openness to you have openness to experiences. You have conscientiousness. You have extroversion. You have agreeableness, and you have neuroticism. Now, neuroticism is a chronic level of emotional instability and proneness to psychological distress. So when it comes to neuroticism, oftentimes that's you get like stress and just like anxious, and you kind of drag your thoughts on something quite a bit. If someone has a neurotic mentality, you have psychological distress. You tend to drag your thoughts on something a little bit too long, and you have a negative view toward the future. Oftentimes, when it comes to a neurotic mentality, you think that something's going to happen. And so neuroticism is studies show that it's also a factor that comes into play when it comes to retribution, not from a standpoint, because when someone's neurotic, it's typically shown as like this person is stressed, dealing with a lot of distressed mentality, even a standpoint of it going even further down in a negative view or negative perception of things, that you just kind of think that something's bad's going to happen. So you either avoid it or you just kind of critique it in advance, so to speak. So it's not necessarily like aggressive. It's not an aggressive behavior that's typically linked with neuroticism. It's more of a distressed behavior instead of a aggressive behavior. However, though, studies show when those negative thoughts, especially toward wrongdoers or someone who's done you wrong, they start to ruminate. And there are studies that show that there was one study that showed someone who had retribution up to 2.5 years. It was a longitudinal study that showed that someone had a retribution 2.5 years after their trespass from that the other person's trespass. So if you're neurotic and you have a negative view toward just life in general, you think that something's negative is going to happen. You think that something's bad is going to happen. And then something happens to you that's a trespass or someone's wronged you in some way. That stuff starts to ruminate, unfortunately. And the person who is neurotic is the person who oftentimes have those vengeful mentality, those vengeful thoughts, and it's and it starts to increase their levels of aggressive behavior. And so narcissism and neuroticism are two very, very major components when it comes to seeking retribution or revenge. And so in the world of professional wrestling, forgiveness can be temporarily shown, such as alliances are built. For instance, the mega powers, so to speak. We saw that with the mega powers. And then We got Macho Man Randy Savage linking up with Hulk Hogan doing the shake gimmick, doing the shake. We've got the Mega Powers. We got two rulers of two different worlds coming together to build this super team. Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage together. After Randy Savage being a notorious villain, he aligns with Hulk Hogan, and they become this amazing, just super team, the Mega Powers. But guess what, though? All because Hulk Hogan helped Elizabeth in a time of peril by bringing her to the backstage and stroking her hair, making sure he's okay, making sure that she's okay, Elizabeth. Uh-oh. That caused Randy Savage to absolutely snap, and the Mega Powers exploded. And that led to Randy Savage talk about how Hulk Hogan is hot dogging and grandstanding, yeah. And that led to one of the most intriguing and riveting stories in all of professional wrestling. You want to talk about a main event that's predicated on a manager? The main event of WrestleMania 5 set the tone of what a feud and what an angle over a manager should be. That set this tone. Hulk Hogan versus Randy Savage, and it had a stake to it too, as far as being a championship match. But the whole point, the biggest undercurrent was the fact that in Randy Savage's eyes, I need to seek retribution for my best friend at this time, hot dogging and grandstanding, standing and having ulterior motives when it comes to Elizabeth. And that was an amazing build up. It was over a year, because even if you think about, Mega Powers coming together, WrestleMania 4 was the tournament, Hulk Hogan at the side of Randy Savage as he goes against Ted DiBiase in the main event, and Hulk Hogan helps Randy Savage, and they celebrate together WrestleMania 4. And then a year later, WrestleMania 5, and Randy Savage is the villain again. What talk about Retribution. An amazing showcase of Retribution when it comes to hot dogging and grandstanding. So forgiveness, and then, alliances being built. Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage were beefing before the Mega Powers. And then there was alliance built because both of them were being what was it? The Hart Foundation, if I remember, the Hart Foundation jumped Randy Savage, and Randy Savage was starting to become, more of a baby face. Of course, he was a huge villain for a long time. He started to become a baby face. The Hart Foundation held him by his arms, and you had the honky tonk man with the guitar. He's doing the gimmick. Elizabeth is trying to save her man, Randy Savage, trying to save him from getting a guitar shot to the head. And eventually the honky tonk man shoves her down and gives Randy Savage the guitar shot. But hold on though. Elizabeth goes to the back. She pulls out Hulk Hogan, and Hogan's like, what's going on? What? Looks at the ring, and he sees that Randy Savage is in dire need of assistance in this time. And guess what? Hulk Hogan helps Randy Savage. An alliance is built, and the mega powers begin. But guess what, though? Unforgiveness, which is very prevalent in the pro wrestling culture and very prevalent in society too, that can lead to retributionist behavior. And we see that in the main event of WrestleMania Saturday. We've got Shield members who were Seth Rollins turned on Roman Reigns almost 11 years ago. It was June of 2014, the chair shot that we saw. And then the Shield, they come back. They reform a time or two. They align again. They go against each other again. You know, when Roman Reigns turns heel, and now Seth Rollins gets eliminated by Roman Reigns and CM Punk as well. And guess what happens? Seth Rollins has retribution. He stops on Roman Reigns, but Roman Reigns has retribution by taking him out during the cage match. And then you got CM Punk in there too when it comes to the Paul Heyman elements. When it comes to Seth Rollins not liking CM Punk coming in and taking a prevalent spot. Not liking CM Punk's return. Seth Rollins feeling like because he's the workhorse of the company, he should be the person with those opportunities. He should be the person that has his name on the marquee. He should be the person who should be discussed as the person who's going to grab the company by the baton and take them into the future. Nope. That position is being also jockeyed or also competed by Roman Reigns and by CM Punk. So therefore, Seth Rollins he's going to exhibit retribution because he's using confirmation bias and cognitive dissonance to justify, you know what, you are the bad guy. CM Punk, you are the bad guy. Roman Reigns, I'm the one who's justified in the way that I am acting. However, he's doing heelish things, but for some odd reason still. Ooh. So all three of them have their own justification of why they're doing what they're doing. But guess what? And in some way, all of them are being heelish. But still, though, all three of them say, you know what I'm doing is justified and I should do it. Now, is it true? Sure. Could be justified. However, though, it's a whole different thing when you exhibit retribution on someone from a standpoint of this person is owed this action or this way of acting toward them. It feels that this person's owed that. And so therefore, they're going to exhibit that. And we've seen that with the main event of WrestleMania Saturday. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the class for today when it comes to the psychology of retribution. So for you just have to think about in your head, this person wronged me. Should I hold a grudge? Should I let this ruminate for years and then do something because things are just going to get worse and more aggressive in the way that you think? Or should I forgive this person, keep my boundaries? Boundaries are very helpful. Let it go. Let them realize that, you know what? You've been living in my head rent free for too long. You're going to get yours somehow. But as far as how much the impact that you have on my thoughts and emotions, it's out of here, man. It's out of here. It's out of here.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Amen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, It is now time for the question cast. All right. Let's get into it. Of course, Ask Doc is the way to go. Ask Doc is the way to go. Let's start off with People's Wrestling Channel. Thoughts on Becky Lynch retiring? I don't have any thoughts to it, man. Good for her, man. Good for her. I am in support of a mother wanting to take care of her family. Absolutely. I am in full support of that. She doesn't want to work. She wants to stay home. Her husband is making buku money for them to be for him to be the one who's out, the lion out in the jungle, doing the work, hunting for the meal, hunting for the meat to bring to the home and for everybody to eat, man. I'm for it. And she's she's a Hall of Fame quality, Hall of Fame worthy wrestler. She doesn't ever have to come back, and she'll make the Hall of Fame because she has a very she has a career in pro wrestling that's it's Hall of Fame worthy, man. So kudos to her for sure. Major kudos to Becky Lynch. So I'm all for it, man. Thoughts on the legacy inductees? I mean, I don't understand that. Again, every time people ask me about Hall of Fame stuff, I say the same answer all the time. I say the exact same answer. I say, what's the criteria? Where's it at? I get stuff from WWE. I get releases. I get stuff. I have not received a criteria of the Hall of Fame yet. I mean, I'm thankful that I get stuff and I get intel and I get all types of stuff. But what I don't receive, I have not yet received a criteria based on the Hall of Fame inductees. And so until that happens, that's always going to be my answer. What's my thoughts on this person going to the Hall of Fame? Okay, what does it matter what I think? What's the criteria? That's where I'm at. Does Kamala, based on overall body of work, 100%. Uncle Ivan, 100%. I forgot the third person. It was three people, right? But what? Why does that? What is the legacy wing, and why is it different than the main wing? And why can't the people in the legacy wing be in the main wing? I remember talking to Bruiser Brody's widow, Barbara Goodish. Very nice lady, by the way. And I was talking to her about that, and she was like, here's the crazy part about this. She found out when everybody else did, when they did that little blurb, of announcing their legacy inductees. And so she found out on social media just like everybody else did. I'm like, ugh. Found out that he was a legacy wing inductee. I don't even know what a legacy wing is. Isn't everybody a legend? Isn't everybody who's in the Hall of Fame? Isn't the entire thing a legacy wing? Because you're legendary. You're leaving a legacy. You left a legacy. That's what makes you in the Hall of Fame. But there's a separate legacy wing for other people. And why can't they be in the regular one? Why can't, especially someone like an Ivan Koloff, ladies and gentlemen? Are you kidding? Ivan Koloff deserves his spot in the main Hall of Fame. But now he's cemented forever to be in the legacy wing. Okay. You got it. Is it a posthumous wing? Now, if it's a posthumous wing, when did the WWE ever make that clear? And there's people who get posthumously inducted all the time in sports Hall of Fames, because guess what? The criteria for other sports Hall of Fames oftentimes are you have to be retired for at least 5 years anyways to even become eligible to be a part of the Hall of Fame. So, So there's posthumous inductees all the time. And guess what? There were posthumous inductees in the WWE for a long time. But now we've got a legacy wing, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to the legacy wing. Thoughts on Mania being 18 hours. Guess what? It's going to be Mania's 18 hours, and true diehard hardcore fans are going to watch every single hour of that. I will not be one of those people watching every single hour of that. That's for sure. Thoughts on Triple H burying fans on the internet. I mean, hey, I'm glad you asked this question, Ricky, the People's Wrestling Channel. I keep my finger on the pulse, based on my algorithms, by the way, which, a lot of times I cancel, I'll say, like, I don't want to see all this stuff. Like, I get it. I mean, most of my Twitter, I'll hop on Twitter, once or twice a day, maybe, unless I'm having people DM me now. You know what? What's interesting about Twitter culture? The people who DM me are just as nice as pie. I mean, like, just they're like real people. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a lot of times with this Twitter stuff, man, it's just a fake make-believe toxic culture, which Triple H is absolutely correct about. But the people who DM me, for the most part, like 99%, even like most of the people, like almost every single DM that I have, it's typically people, say I'm doing great work, and then of course the misinformation I received about the Drew McIntyre stuff, and that was ridiculous. And I'll get more into that too when it comes to like, let's just say this. I cannot stand explaining myself. I explained myself to my patrons. I made a very long and thoughtful Twitter post to my followers who supported me. And of course, Twitter don't know how to leave good enough alone, and it's just a cesspool of emotional vitriol and toxicity. And so that's branched off to people just being Twitter. For the most part, there was a lot of people who were very respectful about that. But it's like, at the end of the day, man, it's my job. That's the information I'm receiving. It wasn't accurate. It wasn't even from the same pool of sources that I usually get it from. All of the accurate stuff that I did before. Guess what? Negativity bias at its core, ladies and gentlemen. Negativity bias at its core. For like 20 spot on, absolutely accurate reports. One report. Again, all the other reports that I was given by sources from within. This report, given from sources from within. This report was inaccurate. All of them else were. The inaccurate report is the one that's more prevalent. And so that again, negativity bias at its core, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I love psychology. And that's the reason why people, at the end of the day, it's like, only you can control how people can affect you. And the more you know about how people think, the more you don't allow them to affect you the way that they want to affect you. And so it's interesting when Triple H brings this up when it comes to like the IWC, because I see it. Like the IWC is very clear in the level of toxicity. But as we did on this show, in the class that we had when I was doing the focus group, the majority of the people who were a part of the Twitter questionnaire and live on here said the IWC. That was like the overwhelming majority answer of what's the most toxic part of professional wrestling. The majority of the people said the IWC. But guess what? The IWC bandwagon effect, the IWC, they band together when it comes to something toxic. When it comes to let's cancel this person, let's talk about this person, let's share this person, let's have some thoughts on this person's, mishap. This person did wrong. It's interesting how like the IWC is the most toxic community in pro wrestling. But for some odd reason, they're like the biggest moral police. and they virtue signal like crazy. But for some odd reason, also when I saw people reporting on the Triple H stuff, you had the same IWC who said the IWC's toxic, but the same IWC that bands together all the time when it comes to scrutinizing people and trying to cancel people. When Triple H says that, they're like, Triple H is cooking, cook, Triple H. And I'm looking at that. I'm like, hold on a second. Isn't this the same community that at a drop of a dime, at a snap of a finger, there'll be the same community that bands together to criticize and scrutinize and cancel and virtue signal? Huh? Like that don't make no sense. The IWC is it's a weird community. It's a very odd community. I don't, Triple H is absolutely dead on as far as, and I've heard that. I've heard that from sources from within. A source told me that IWC is a bubble that is just only, focused on that really only puts themselves over. It's just a wrestling bubble. Now, granted, there's times where the IWC they can get loud enough to shake a little bit of something. I mean, the Cody Rhodes thing was, that was mostly. It was mostly live crowds, but IWC had something to do with that. There was some discussions as far as Drew McIntyre's opponent at WrestleMania that I was told from within, that there were some conversations that were considering reevaluating like who Drew McIntyre's opponent was. But guess what? I mean, it didn't go far, because Drew McIntyre's opponent for WrestleMania is still Damian Priest. And so, yeah, you may shake a little bit, but then it's like, okay, this will pass just like everything else when it comes to the IWC. As far as like what everybody like people away, people who aren't like engrossed in the IWC, they see the IWC as like a pocket of people. It's like a pocket of bees. It's like a nest of bees. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, well, just let them Just let them stay over there in their nest. They'll be okay. You know what I mean? And so basically that's what it is. That's the mentality of the IWC. But you know, it's interesting how I was talking about unforgiveness. The IWC oftentimes is very unforgiving. And you see that it's pretty prevalent when it comes to the culture overall and how toxic they could be. I said it before. IWC is like a very bitter, cantankerous ex-boyfriend who goes to a wedding and sees like their ex-girl, like the ex-boyfriend goes to the wedding, sees the ex-girlfriend thriving, absolutely in love. You know, the relationship that she was in was just, it was toxic. He was just verbally abusive. He would always say stupid, crazy things. He was unforgiving. He would be very critical all the time. He would negativity bias like a mug. She was amazing. She was so just meek, and she was so just respectful and just a sweetheart of a person. Wasn't combative, just an overall solid person, very emotionally stable. So there was there'll be like a couple of times where she had a bad day, and then he would take that personally and just start acting crazy. So eventually she was like, okay, I gotta go. Like he's taking my kindness for weakness, and he's not acknowledging the fact that I'm just a solid person who maintains my emotions like 98% of the time. And so she left, and she found someone who respected, who saw the gem in her and took advantage, and took full advantage of her beauty and her charm and her intellect and her emotional maturity. So guess what? The ex-boyfriend goes to the wedding, and he's like, yeah, because remember that one time when you said I'm an idiot? I bet you're gonna do the same thing with him. So that he's the one that's like heckling at the wedding. Everybody's like, who's this? Like, who are you? Oh, you're the ex-boyfriend. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, just get him out of here. Escort this dude. Let him complain in his car somewhere. And so the IWC is like, go and complain in your car. Like, just go. Like you're just completely irrelevant to this right here and us winning over here. You go. Just go. You're completely irrelevant to this this happiness that we're experiencing. And so Triple H is basically commenting on that and just saying, hey man, the IWC is going to be the IWC, and they're going to IWC. And so, like, you can't expect different, right? Like, eventually you have to get to the point when it comes to, I'm really big into Stoic philosophy. Eventually you got to get to the point where for a fact that the toxic person isn't going to change. They are the constant. Your perception of their actions is the variable. So there's a psychological concept, psychological phenomenon called reconditioning. So it's like IWC equals blank, right? And so, or IWC plus your action equals blank. Either format works. And so you can say IWC plus me reporting inaccurate, which I take full responsibility for. As much as I'm responsible for getting inaccurate information and reporting it. I mean, I'm completely responsible for that. If I knew it was inaccurate, I wouldn't have reported it. But guess what? That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. So IWC plus Drew McIntyre report equals whatever I take from that. All right. So I can change the blank. I can't change the IWC, nor can I change the what happened or whatever situation happens, or even their perception of the situation. Whatever that is, I can't change that either. What I can change is the equals, the blank after the equal sign. It could be angry. It could be sad. It could be canceled. Whatever that is, that's in that blank of what I perceive or what I react to that or how I think about that. That's what I could change. That's the change. That's what can be changed. And so what happens is, and this is just a really important psychological life lesson when it comes to interpersonal communication and when it comes to emotional maturity too. Like whatever that blank is, focus on that. Like focus on the blank. Don't focus on somebody else because you can't change them. Don't focus on their perception of what happened, even if it's wrong. You can't change that either. Because what happens is, because you perceive the blank to be the blank, you try to explain yourself to the constant, which is the other variable, which is the other factor, which is the IWC or the person or whoever that is. But what happens is, no matter how much you explain yourself to that person or them, that's not going to change the middle part because they already have that perception toward you. Even if it's incorrect, they still have that perception. And so what you can change is your level of investment emotionally on any of the equation. And so for me, it's IWC plus an accurate report equals, for me, it's so what? I mean, it's okay. That's life. It's moving on. Like, I mean, that's basically what the blank is. Now, there was a time where the blank was, now emotionally it's easy for people to catch you, and poke you in a way that kind of flinches you a little bit. But eventually though, like when someone is really working their emotional stability, like it's just like but eventually it's like, okay, like it's over. It's done with. Like I've processed this. I've moved on. I'm resilient. It was something that was negative. It's gone. And so you can change you can change the blank. Whatever that blank is of how you think about it, your perception of it, your reaction to it, that you can change. You can change your perception of yourself, which is the blank. You can't change them. Neither can you change what happened or their perception of what happened, or you can't change their perception of you. But what you can change is your perception of you, and that's where the blank is. So when you're dealing with like IWC fans, think of it that way. Like they're going to be them. They're going to be toxic. IWC is toxic. I can't change that. Neither do I want to. Neither do I have the energy to care enough about changing that. But I can change the blank. And the blank is, how do I perceive myself knowing these other factors? And so that's the IWC. I mean, that's another class that's added to the IWC when we did before based on this question. So this was a really good question. Triple H is spot on, man, when it comes to the IWC, but I always found it weird when I was kind of following, the socials, and I saw people's reaction to that, and they were like, "Cook Triple H, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You better cook Triple H, cook." And I'm like, wait a minute, you're them. Like you're one of y'all are the people he's. Do y'all know that? Like, well, y'all gonna just not pretend the fact that y'all the people he talking about? Like, we gonna, this is what we're doing now. We're gonna just pretend that. Okay, I got you. That makes sense of why the IWC is the IWC, because that's what the IWC does, ladies and gentlemen. Next week, can we do a watch along with some old school wrestling? I think last time, man, we got pinged on that, so it was it's dicey, man. WWE, if WWE owns anything library wise, they will remove your video permanently. So it has to be something that does not violate WWE's ownership. Your thoughts on Mariah May on her way to WWE? From what I've seen on socials, she's pretty solid. WWE, the only issue was like, all right, WWE, like, how many people can you bring in? And do you have like legitimate stories for all of them as you bring them in? Don't get to the point where you're Tony Khan in this thing and said, let's just bring you in just to bring you in, just to get the pop. Like, fit her into a story. And don't bring her in until you have something for her, man. Or at least do really good promos on the way. You know what I mean? Like, you can do that for months, but don't just bring her in and bring her in. Rollins in the building. What's up, my man? What's up, Dr. Chris? I finally caught a PNP show. Ever since you guys changed the schedule for Unscripted and WrestleBins, got me on the routine of watching both shows, but we're here. Yeah. Well, this show is still the same time, around 11:40-ish. Usually I try to get off of Unscripted in time to hop right on here. My plan every single week is 11:40-ish. Sometimes it gets into like 11:45, but as always, man, I appreciate you coming through. Let's skim through. Let's skim through the rest of these. Elvis, what's up, my man? Why do you think WWE didn't put someone of color in the Hall of Fame this year? This year's class seems lackluster. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't even notice that. Yeah. I mean, personally, I wouldn't read too much into it. But I mean, that is an interesting, but someone of color deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Jazz deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Kamala should have been the actual Hall of Famers for the legacy wing. So, I mean, should have been at least. Happy early Easter to you, Elvis. Thank you very much. Rollin, are you at all surprised that a triple threat non-title with three guys that were off TV for most of the past 365 is the main event light over men's world title and the two women's world titles? Surprised? No, because the pitch is CM Punk wanted to main event WrestleMania, so there's his opportunity. The bigger story was Jay being the underdog. The bigger story was Cena turning heel. So CM Punk just didn't have the ability to be in a world title match, although he had the ability to main event, though, which is interesting. I still think this should be stakes. I mean, it should be a number one contender match for a world championship. Makes absolutely no sense that isn't a thing. No sense at all. Michael Pessolano on your unscripted show earlier, John Cena Sr. was commenting of how Bill Apter was old as dirt. Meanwhile, Cena Sr. is a year older than Apter. And that's something. Is he 79 or 76 or whatever? How old is Cena Sr.? Because Apter's in his mid-70s now. Man, he looks good. For 80. What? Cena Senior. What in the world? He'll be 81 years old in June, in 2 months, exactly 2 months from now. He'll be 81 years old. I knew he was in his, I thought he was like in his early to mid 70s. I know Apter's up, he's like, Apter's up there too, 78 or something like that. Apter's 79. He'll be 80 in October. Man, how about that? Cena Sr. about to be 81 years old. That looks good for his age, man. How about that? Kudos to Cena Sr., man. Elvis, why in the world would WWE put a match into the Hall of Fame? I still don't understand that. Again. What's the criteria? What's the criteria? I don't know it. I haven't been sent it. I still don't understand it. I don't get it. Retribution were an awful faction. Absolutely. We the ones. Yes, indeed. James, I want to ask you, WWE's doing their top 100 million matches and what's not on the list for obvious reasons. A triple threat at Mania 20. What are your thoughts on that match and Benoit's win? I mean, I thought the match was amazing. I thought that was one of the best. That was one of the best matches that Jim Ross commentated in WWE, in my opinion. Top 5. His commentary added so much to that match. It was criminally interesting choice of words, grossly underrated commentary that Jim Ross had when it comes to that match. It was incredible. Now, no matter what I think about the match, again, you can never erase what Chris Benoit did, man. And that's that, and it sucks, man. It sucks for Chris Benoit to have such an amazing WrestleMania moment, and such a pinnacle or such a monumental marquee WrestleMania. It was 20th. It was WrestleMania 20. That was a huge mania. It was a milestone mania, and for them to give Chris Benoit the spotlight at a milestone mania like that. Oh, it's tough just for him to blow it, man. Just for him to tarnish it forever. Sad, man. Sad. I wrote a article. I wrote a long paper for one of my psychology classes a long time ago about Chris Benoit and the Big 5 personality traits. I think I might attempt to publish that in a journal, peer-reviewed journal, and let y'all see it in public. Because this is pretty lengthy paper I wrote. Let's see here, James. I've been watching WWE wrestling in general since 1998. I got to say, this is the worst build to any mania I've ever seen. I've been watching almost 35 years now. Did they just give up? I mean, that's pretty. Unfortunately, that is a general consensus of people. Unfortunately, it's hard to mention his name alone, without mentioning tragedy. But I always wonder were you a Benoit fan or would you rank him as a performer? I don't know about rank. I needed some more time to think about that. Benoit fan. I wasn't necessarily a Benoit fan. I respected the heck out of Benoit's work. I love the aggression. I love the rabid Wolverine gimmick. I love, man, and you know what's so crazy about Benoit? His theme song is just one of the in his period, 2000, like in the 2010s. His theme song was one of the best in that decade. I think it was called Whatever, and with the I think Our Lady Peace, maybe. Man, what a theme song that perfectly matches that type of aura that he brought, the type of gimmick that he brought. But man, it sucks that, again, man, we can't have these conversations with Chris Benoit without the asterisk. Like we just can't do that, unfortunately. What's up, Dion? Good evening, Doc. I felt tonight twisted my ankles, grabbed my knee, man. It hurts my knee. Oh man, sorry to hear that, man. Praying for you for sure. I give a lot of the rightfully so, but you see what happened to Hook on AEW recently. We never allowed that to do. And I was running away. He was throwing up. I think I might have saw that in the socials. Did he get like? Was it the Claudio spot? He got like the front slam or something like that, or on a chair or something like that. I feel this mania feels mid and poorly put together. Av is saying, "Yep, indeed." What's up, Danimal? If we compare WrestleMania main events as Paul Heyman, the Miss Elizabeth, and this triple threat between CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins, in a way, except for Seth Rollins, isn't really jockeying for Paul Heyman's managerial services, although the rumor is he'll have them by the time the night's over. But okay, sure. Av, did you see the interview with Raquel Rodriguez? We said her and Liv were just thrown together. Wasn't you and Vince Russo asking why they're together a few weeks ago? Yeah, I mean, that's a lot. I mean, that's par for the course of what we see thrown together stuff. I try to get you booked at the Love of Wrestling convention. Bill After would be at next year. You try to get me booked. Oh, okay, cool. Thanks. I meant to watch along on the after party. Yeah, they still do it. They still flag, unfortunately. All right, y'all. Yeah, man. Another very successful show, y'all. That's what we do. Successful show. Whew, zoom through those. We're about to go to the after party, y'all. I appreciate y'all rocking with me, man. I appreciate y'all rocking with me as always, man. Again, continuing to show your love. Continue to stay with the show the entire time. Put your ones up for all my real ones who stayed at the end, y'all. Put your ones up. You're my real ones. You're the ones that I can just rock with and talk to at the end of the show. Just give you life stuff. Tuesday was a tough day for me altogether. Some things happened that I was really planning on things. I had a good thing, some good stuff planned. Didn't go, the way that I preferred. But you know what? Hey, man, onward and upward. And one of my biggest things about life is tenacity and resiliency. Those are my mottos. Those are my two things that I really, really live by, and today was no different. So that's why I'm here with you all, having a great time as always. So put your ones up, man. My real ones. If you're here to the very end, it's been an hour and 24 minutes since the show started. It's almost a quarter after 1 a.m. And so if you're still here, which nobody left, which is great. More people came in and stayed. Again, y'all continue to be supportive. And so thank y'all, man. I appreciate it. Support your boy even more by hitting that sub. All right. Put your ones up. Know that you let me know that you're a real one. Staying with me till the end, man. I greatly appreciate that more than you know. Until next week, y'all. Enjoy your week of wrestling. God bless, and always remember, I do it for you. I'll see you at the after party. We're gonna hang out, do some WrestleMania predictions, and then wrap the night up for the night. Have a good time. I got some. So it's hard for me to do predictions because I know so many spoilers. I don't do spoilers like that anymore because it's just too much energy trying to sift through who likes it, who wants it, and stuff like that. I know a lot of match outcomes. So what I will do, I'll give a teaser. So, all right, y'all. God bless. Have a good night. Peace.